All right, next item is PC 12-13. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting a small-scale land use plan amendment to the city of North Miami comprehensive plan future land use map for a property consisting of approximately 4.24 acres in size and located at 1850 Northeast 123rd Street from commercial land use designation to mixed use high land use designation in order to allow for the proposed redevelopment of the vacant property site consistent with the intent of the City of North Miami Comprehensive Plan, and further authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to effectuate the small-scale land use plan amendment as required by Florida law, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and for an effective date. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan future land use map for the subject lot from commercial to mixed use high land use and forward to City Council for final consideration. Just to read the background information from the staff report, it says that the subject site, consisting of 4.24 acres in size, is a vacant parcel located at 1850 Northeast 123rd Street, currently designated on the city's future land use map as commercial land use. Property owner Causeway Village LLC has filed an application for a small-scale land use plan map amendment for a change in designation from commercial to mixed-use high land use in order to redevelop the vacant site and create the first residential or retail mixed-use complex along the corridor in recent years. To that end, Policy 1.12.2 of the Comprehensive Plan encourages mixed use along major corridors such as Northeast 123rd Street. The applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use complex to include residential multifamily units with ground floor retail office use. As is required by the city's land development regulations, all requests for land use plan amendment must be consistent with Article 3, Section 3-1105 of the city's land development regs, and staff has provided an analysis in the staff report outlining how this project satisfies the criteria in Section 3-1105 of the code. And as such, staff is recommending approval of this application at this time, subject to the following conditions. That one, the applicant should submit a draft declaration of restrictive covenant containing the restriction as outlined in subsection F above in the staff report to the Office of the City Attorney at least 30 days from final council approval. For review, prior to final recordation, the applicant would also furnish a copy of the recorded document to the Director of Community Planning and Development once the instrument has been recorded with Miami-Dade County. Condition number 2, staff actually has a revision to that condition. We're striking the words that the staff has to file a request for abandonment of the alleyway. It was determined that that alleyway has previously been abandoned by the city back in 1963. So staff is striking the first sentence, and instead the applicant will be providing a copy of a unity of title to consolidate all lots on the site, and said document shall be submitted to the Office of the City Attorney for approval prior to final recordation. The applicant will also furnish a copy of the recorded document to the Director of Community Planning and Development once the instrument has been recorded with Miami-Dade County. And the final condition is that the applicant is required to obtain site plan review and approval for the proposed new development prior to obtaining final building permits. And as such, the applicant shall contact the city zoning administrator in order to submit plans to the DRC, Development Review Committee, for review. The attorney for the applicant is here tonight, Mr. Chair, and he wishes to make a presentation on the item at this time.
All right, will the applicant's attorney please stand, go to the microphone, state your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Mickey Murrow from the law firm of Burke, Howard, and Fernandez at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. With me today, Javier Font from Behar Font, the project's architect, as well as Joaquin Vargas, our traffic engineer. They're both here to answer any questions you might have. I don't know if staff wanted to take both items together or do the rezoning after.
We have to take these one at a time.
Okay, we'll do that.
One is quasi-judicial.
Perfect. So we represent Causeway Village LLC, the owner of the property on 123rd Street in 1850, Northeast 123rd Street, which is across the street from the existing Causeway Square project, which includes the LA Fitness, the Vitamin Shop, and some of those other retail and office uses, which was developed by the same developer, Topco. In addition, the developer also developed the Whole Foods and brought the Whole Foods to Biscayne Boulevard, that's just a few blocks away from the site. When working with staff, meeting with staff, and going through the ideas for this property, it became apparent that mixed use was really the appropriate use here. The comprehensive plan encourages mixed use on major corridors. In this particular case, we have a perfect mix of commercial, particularly retail, as well as residential, medium density residential throughout the area. The property currently sits vacant and is really calling for something like this. Although we'll be back before you for a conditional use, and you'll see the site plan in its full phase. We have before you a location map as well as a preliminary ground floor site plan, and what it shows you is essentially where the parking will be located on the site, as well as some of the retail. We're hoping to have about 10,000 square feet of retail, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 190 or so units.
Could you repeat that again, please?
We're hoping to have something like 10,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor, as well as about 190 units. The land use calls for
190 living units.
correct residential units. That land use designation allows for more. So our traffic study was actually done with higher impacts than what's proposed, and still the number of trips is dramatically less than what would happen if the commercial land use remained on site. Right now, essentially, they could build something very similar to what's across the street in size and intensity. This would be a mixed use, so you're going to have a lot of internalization of trips, and a mixed use sort of captures a lot of those trips internally. We agree with all staff's conditions, including the declaration to limit the height to 75 feet, where we would otherwise be able to go much higher. We would limit the height to 75 feet, which is consistent with the medium, with the mixed use medium height restriction. Another point that I thought was very relevant, and staff points out, in the city, only 3% of the current land, the housing stock, was built after the year 2000. This is an opportunity for this major corridor to have new residential development that would certainly help property values within the area and enhance the commercial uses that surround the property. We're here to answer any questions you may have. The traffic study is part of your report. Our traffic engineer is here. We've done, I guess, what was discussed before, really a traffic assessment, counting the trips on the site. A more detailed traffic study with flows, ingress and egress will be done at the site planning stage. Again, we're here to answer any questions you may have. We certainly agree with staff's recommendation and all the conditions that they've requested.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions for the applicant's attorney?
You said 191 units.
Correct.
190.
190?
Approximately. It's 191 is in your
What
report.
kind
Yes.
of units are you putting there? And how high? How many stories are we building? What are we looking at? I'm familiar with this property.
Right.
It used to be, I think, at one time a car dealership, and there was an apartment there. Now we're going to put more apartments there, and only 10,000 feet of retail. You got a beautiful building across the street. I like to know more about this. You know, like what type of units are they going to be? High-end units, workforce housing? What are we looking at?
This is Javier Font, the project architect, can answer questions about specific types of units.
Good evening, Javier Font, Behar Font and Partners, 135 San Lorenzo Avenue, Suite 610, Coral Gables, Florida. The intended use of the project is a mixed-use project. Retail on the ground floor, units up above that. The idea is to have a maximum of 75 feet, so probably a maximum of 7 stories. And the units would be probably somewhere around, I would imagine 40% or so 1-bedroom units, about 55% 2-bedroom units, and about 5% 3-bedroom units. They would be market rate units.
What does that mean when you say market rate?
Market rate means that they are not subsidized in any way. They're not affordable housing of any sort. They're just a developer builds the unit and leases it at whatever the market rate is, meaning that there will be upscale units, if you will. The developer of this project has obviously done numerous things in the area and truly feels that there is a lack of new units, as Mickey pointed out, about 3% of the housing stock has been developed after the year 2000. And as we know, everybody is looking for newer and better apartments, and a lot of the people who were looking for homes have come back to the apartment, want to live in a more dense situation, want to be able to walk to retail components, want to have the mixed use, and we're seeing a lot of that throughout the city of Miami, the city of Coral Gables, and obviously, hopefully, here in the city of North Miami. But that's the idea.
Give me your breakdown again on how many one-bedrooms you said?
We'll do a market study to determine, but typically it's about 40% one bedrooms, about 55% two bedrooms, and about
55 two-bed?
right, and about 5% three bedrooms.
Okay.
And they will average just over 1,000 square feet a unit. And the
Over
one
1,000
bedrooms,
square feet.
right.
These are going to be upscale apartments?
correct.
1,000 square feet strikes me as rather small for an upscale three-bedroom apartment.
Well, no,
That's
they
the
will
one.
average at about 1,000 square feet. Most of your one bedrooms will probably, I mean, a one bedroom will probably run about 750, 800 square feet. Two bedroom will probably run somewhere around 1,100 square feet, and a three bedroom will run somewhere around 14 to 1,500 square feet. So once you throw them all in the bag and figure out an average, they're just over 1,000 square feet an average. And that's very comparable to market rate units, if you will.
Mr. Reach, can I jump in with
Yeah,
a
go
question?
ahead.
Mr. Ernst, you may, go ahead.
Yes, can you point out any other developments that you could compare this with that you do develop or, yourself or the,
Absolutely. We have, as a matter of fact, there is a grand opening this evening for a project in Coral Gables called Gables on Ponce, which was developed by a company called Gables Residential, just out of coincidence because they're out of Atlanta, and this is their first project. It's 250 units. It's right on the corner of Lejeune Road and Ponce de Leon Boulevard, where the old Ford dealership used to be. It's a beautiful project. Has the same thing. It's got 250 units. They're about 1,000 square foot average. They about the same proportion, more or less, of one bedrooms, two bedrooms, and three bedrooms. Same type of amenities. Parking is all sort of in a pedestal, buildings up above, and there's a pool deck that happens above the parking garage, which is more or less the idea of what we would do here.
does that development take up the entire footprint of that property?
Yes,
And-
much more so than this one will, yes.
So on this one, you would anticipate that a portion of this would be some setback involved from the street, or
Correct.
integrating your facade with the street and buffering the back.
Yes,
Any
this-
plans like that?
This is a much larger piece of property. It's more than double what that other property is, and that property would have more units than this one will have. So, yes, you'll have a lot more green area in this particular project.
What kind of retailers do you have in that current project that you have down
That
there?
project, the ground floor will be an Epicure supermarket, which is, as we all know, a very high-end
Right.
supermarket, and it's currently under construction.
So what you're saying is that when you mentioned 10,000 square feet of retail, do you anticipate trying to get more than one particular anchor tenant, or would you look at possibly putting in as many small-sized tenants into that 10,000 square feet?
I believe that our latest data shows us that we should be at more than 10,000 square feet, and I think the planning department was actually hoping that we would be a little more than 10,000
Right.
square feet.
Yeah, because that doesn't seem like a lot when you...
Correct. Yes. We're hopefully going to be somewhere around 20,000 square feet, and we would like to be more convenience sort of retail that some of the people within the building could use, and also the immediate
Right.
neighborhood could walk to and use.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what we're not looking at, hopefully, and I would think that would be the feeling of anybody within this panel, is that you would build a structure and then say, okay, I can put a mini mart in there, and I meet the criteria for having mixed use. That's something that we would not look upon as something that we
Good condition.
the intent, and we've done this in several projects, the intent is to try and find uses that are compatible with the neighbors upstairs,
see them,
that don't
yeah.
create smells, don't create unwanted traffic, don't create, a lot of traffic in the evening, et cetera, so that you give an amenity to the residents, and get retail that actually feeds off those residents, so they can both be successful.
Thank you.
And Mr. Ernst, when we get to that stage, those plans, those precise
I
plans
understand,
will
yeah,
come.
but
Yeah,
I-
this is
but since we
basically the
didn't-
zoning
Yeah.
and then the use.
To
That
be-
would open
just
up
to be
the door
honest
for
with
it.
you, I mean, I was taken aback because of the scope of the 191 units on this property, and really, there's nothing that we could compare that with. I think this is something new that was thrown at us, and I needed to get a little bit of a clarification as to
Certainly,
the direction
certainly.
they were going in. So I'm sorry if I strayed a little bit, but it does give us a little bit better concept of why they were asking for it to be a planned unit or planned development. Because I would have addressed staff at this point, I guess, in my questions down the line. But no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question for staff. How high can we build in that location?
Currently, under the commercial designation, it goes up to 55 feet.
55 feet.
Correct. Under completely commercial with no residential or anything else.
Okay, and then
Based on the
we
use that they're
change-
asking for, to mixed use high, they're permitted up to 110 feet. However, they're permitted up to 110 feet, but you'll note that in the staff conditions, we're limiting it to no more than 75 feet as a part of the approval.
And how many stories are you looking at? I don't have a problem, I just want
In 75 feet, we won't be able to do more than 7 stories.
7.
So 7 would be a
And the parking
maximum.
garage would be underneath, in the building?
The garage is meant to be hidden behind the building.
Like a
Hidden
wraparound.
behind the building.
Correct.
Okay, now will the parking garage, when you design this, will it be like the ones on Miami Beach where you're not gonna be seeing it from the residential area, it's gonna have nice landscaping?
Well, it'll hopefully be encompassed by the building itself.
Okay.
So yes,
all right.
the idea is
One
to
of
screen the parking
problems I saw
garage.
with the ones
To
that
the
you guys
wraparound.
put up on 100 across the street was the lights glaring over the residential area. And unfortunately, I have the same situation in my neighborhood, and we're gonna bring it up before the
Yeah,
planning commission. We wanna make sure that that's not gonna be the case again.
okay. Now, we were not involved.
You did a beautiful building over there with LA Fitness, but if I'm your neighbor, and I'm looking
Right.
up there, and I hear the cars going, and I see the lights, and that's terrible. I mean, that is my concern. I have, if this is gonna be a building that's gonna be comparable to what you put up in Coral Gables, a high-end building, granite tops, and so forth and so on,
That is correct.
no
That is correct.
second-rate nonsense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In order to demand the rents that the developer is going to need to pay for this, he's going to have to do a very nice product.
The parking garage is going to be contained within the facility, so it won't
Correct.
be splashing over.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
did not
Right.
design the building across the street, but I understand the concern, and we can definitely take care of that issue.
Your LA Fit is a beautiful building. But like I say, the lights are glaring, you even put landscaping in, it should be shaded, should be done, like they do on Miami Beach. I like parking garages when they're done nicely.
I agree with
Thank you.
Again, for the record, you did not build that building across the street?
you. The developer is the same developer. We did not design that building.
Okay,
We, as architects, did not design that
thank you.
Saving grace
Well, they
there
didn't
on
go
that one.
building.
All right,
I'm a veteran, I lost my hearing in the war.
Jason, do we have any questions for the architect or the attorney for the plaintiff?
I think staff, you commented that you found records or recorded documents saying that the roadway running through the property has already been vacated. That's northeast 122nd Street.
Correct.
What about the easements that are in there? Is that supposed to be addressed at this time or during the next phase for site plan? For the
The easements that are reflected as a part of the conditional use permit will include conditions that the easements be retained for the perpetual use of the site. So if the city needs to have access, then we'll still have access to whatever utilities we have within the easement. But
Yeah.
right now, the request before you solely for a
Strictly
use
zone.
change. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the next tier, once they resubmit for a conditional use permit, then you'll see the full flushed out comments about the easement.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If there's no other questions, we'll open the public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to speak to this item, please step forward, state your name and address.
William E. Dressback, 1840 Northeast, 124th. I don't kind of concur with the chief. It's a very ugly building, the Causeway Square. It has a parking garage that only creates an amphitheater for all the noise of every car alarm that goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning when they go to LA Fitness, or their little security people loud over the speaker, and the lighting is terrible. I got into a discussion with Mr. Rosenthal several times on this project, and just to show you what I've written here is like the owner, builder, developer has no regard for the city, environment, or the neighbors. This is an amphitheater, parking garage. It overtowers the thing. He committed in all the zoning hearings to a 4-story building. Well, he hoodwinked the city. He built an 80-foot building, a 100-foot building with a 4-story parking garage next door, which is only 40 feet, roughly. I mean, I didn't take the measurements, but he increased the height of the ceiling in everything to 20 or 30 feet or whatever he did in there, to build the building he built there. And the city thing was 4 stories, and that's what we were told as residents. And then they turned around and did this. Plus that, they worked 24 hours, 7 days a week, drilling, hammering, pounding in that building at nighttime, daytime, trucks and stuff going. There was no restriction on them. I complained several times. They totally, with the groundwater coming off the property during a rainy time, they totally polluted the canal. They put silt in the end. Now the mangroves are growing in there, which is good. It helped kind of insulate some of the noise that goes on over there. But this project across the street drains into North Miami's canal. It's not my canal. It's North Miami's canal, the only one they own. The rest of them all belong to Dade County, evidently, as far as I've been told. I called Durham. I called the city 30 or 40 times. Not a one violation, not one fine was ever issued for the turbidity in the water, the smell, the runoff that's still there, which is going to be a navigational problem at some point. So that's just some of the problems. They lied. The developer, a 4-story building, he built a 20 foot a story. Or 15, I don't know what's in there. I haven't been in there. I just looked at it when they were building it. Some of the other things, like I said, the parking garage is a noise, an amphitheater. Housing on it constantly covered in dust. They weren't very friendly neighbors. Frank Woolen advised me to go there and talk to Mr. Talbert. I went to his office twice. I called him on the phone 4 times. I didn't know Michael Blinn and the mayor both told me they had his phone number. He wouldn't talk to me. He didn't care about a citizen. Frank told me to try to be a good neighbor and see if we could resolve some of these problems. The constant dust and dirt and cars and pressure washing my house like 3 times in a year when I probably do it every 3rd year. That's just some of the problems with these projects. And like I said, the attorney totally said whatever he wanted to say, Rosenthal, I don't really believe these people. Plus, I was never able to see the plans. They hid the plans over that little building, which I guess was the planning department. I went in there several times to try to see the plans, what they were doing over there. And they were never made available. And I didn't know these plans were made available. I would have definitely liked to seen them before, or a site plan with elevations and whatever, and so on. They come in here. Plus, their timing's perfect. I'm leaving for about 2 or 3 months. I'll be back after the hurricane season, being a devout coward. I go north, up to Carolinas and the Pennsylvanias and, whatever. But, so they'll bring it up when nobody's here in the summertime and all the residents. And if all the residential units face Sans Souci with their balconies and stuff, that's fine with the people in North Miami or Keystone. That's not going to happen. They're going to be looking down my property, banging, making noise on their balconies and whatever. And, that just, one of my proposals here, landscaping. They took half my street, which I tried not to get the plat passed and so on. But, maybe I didn't contribute enough to people's political funds. But they promised to landscape the end of my street. Still isn't done. I talked to Jeff Geimer the other day, and he said, well, they all the permits are gone, and nobody, I don't know if the city's inept or what. It still looks like a trash dump at the end. This thing is cut out.
Yeah.
They took out half the drainage for the street.
All right. Bill, we understand your complaints.
Yeah, let's, I'm just telling you, this is what's going to happen
But-
to the neighbors, and this should be made public, but let me tell you the two recommendations I have. One, the canal, which they told me if they would have built it like now, they changed the law, and they need a 6 or 8 foot fence or a block wall to isolate the noise from the residential neighborhood. And that canal on the west end and the south side, on the north side of the street, which they drain into, that street drains, comes right in there because the pollution comes in.
You're talking about the existing project. on
The
north
talking
side.
where the car dealership was.
Right, but
Those street drains empty into the city's canal. So, and plus the lights and stuff coming in and out of that thing is going to shine right like they do now when they go into that bank parking lot into the residential neighborhood. So that the wall, which is in the code now, evidently, I was told after the other project, who said 4-story building, but they never designed 4 stories, or
All right.
So I'm just saying there's a lot of pitfalls, and the work hours. I mean, they should be limited. They can 24/7. How can they do that? I just did it Saturdays, Sundays, weekends, nighttime. Whatever they want to do over there. I don't know. It's
Well,
nice.
but Bill,
It's nice to
that's
have a
really
guardian
not-
angel, I guess.
Those items are not before us tonight. Before us
Well,
is
and
the-
lighting.
is a
I wanted low lighting sconces around the building. There are parking lights in the thing, and like Kenny was saying, in the top of the parking garage, just totally annihilate the neighborhood, the local neighborhood.
Right.
So there's
But
no
that's-
consideration
but
for
Bill,
residential
those-
next to
all right,
these type
Bill,
of properties.
Those are issues when we get more in depth on the site plan. For now, we're just dealing with a land use issue.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I wouldn't approve anything. I don't think this guy is, going to give you a legitimate story, and he's going to do whatever he wants, like he did on Causeway Square. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. All right. Next speaker, please. State your name and address.
I prepared a memorandum for you. You can put the numbers.
Okay. Now, please speak into the microphone. Bring it down. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Annette Toledano. I'm the owner of the property on 1785 Northeast 123rd Street, which is across the street from the proposed building site. I've been a business owner in North Miami for 28 years. I've been in private practice. And a year and a half ago, I purchased the building across the street from the site. And I want to present to you a flood that occurred in the area on May 9, 2012. This was a rainstorm that lasted about 20 minutes. And as you see, my property is the only property in the area that is lower than all the surrounding area. It's lower than 123rd, it's lower than Biscayne, lower than 18th Avenue. And I'm told okay, let me show you the picture of the last rainstorm on June 7th. I was stranded in a building overnight. I could not leave because there was 2 feet of water in the parking lot. And around 7 or 8 o'clock, water started entering the building, flooded the interior, and I have wood floors throughout. I'm concerned that if the 4.5 acres of land will be covered with asphalt, there will be a lot more of stormwater that the 18th Avenue drainage is not able to handle now. The other point I want to make is that I'm told by the public works workers that before the LA Fitness building was built, there wasn't any drainage issue in the area. So covering this much land with asphalt is going to create bigger problem, and I don't know what I could do. I mean, this is not allowing me to use the building for its purpose. I have to abandon the land.
Doctor, how long have you been there?
I've been there a year and I purchased the building in November of 2011.
That site originally, for your information, There used to be a car dealership. It was called Monroe Zeter, and it was all paved over. It was a Chrysler dealership on that
Where
side.
my building is?
No, where it
Oh,
was
the other
vacant.
side. Oh, no, I've been in North Miami for 28 years.
Yeah, yeah,
I remember
okay.
that.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
car
and
dealer.
actually I lived
Across
here
the street
too.
was a car dealership too.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a point with the train.
We're trying to work with the Public Works Department to see what can be done, and from what they're telling me, nothing much, because the injection well will be very costly, and I don't know if anything could be improved. And I just dug out part of the parking lot to allow for natural percolation. But if 4 acres will be paved across the street from me, as you can see here, let me pass the pictures, that 123rd Street is much higher than my property. And as I was stranded that night.
Are these two sets, excuse me, ma'am, are these two sets the same, identical?
No, they're not. One
Okay.
is the 2012 and one is 2013.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that now.
As the cars were passing on 123rd, there was a wake, and the water came inside. If there was just a little bit more rain, the whole building would have been flooded. And normally I have 2 steps leading from the parking lot to the door. And when they built the LA Fitness, they made them put drainage on the side. And apparently they did, but the water wants to go down. It's not going to go into the drainage unless it's done properly.
This is on the existing LA Fitness site, is that correct?
My building?
Correct, Mr. Chair. It's on the north side of
Right.
123rd.
Across the street from it.
You're on the,
North
you're on
side.
the same, you're on the south side of 123rd.
North side.
The north
North side, I'm sorry, you're on the
Yeah.
north side.
With the existing Causeway Square.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Toledano. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak to this? You don't need to raise your hand. You can just come on up and move up to the microphone and give us your name and
Excuse my
address.
appearance. I've been fixing up my house that I'm going to
And
be forced
start
right
with
now.
your name and
Elizabeth
address.
Favre, 1817 Northeast 121 Street.
Thank
So,
you.
first of all, I'm disappointed. I was hoping that something better was going to come out of that property. But 7 stories, I mean, I wish you guys would like consider the people already live there. There's a few townhomes behind that alleyway there. And I don't know why you're building more apartments. We already have so many apartments in the area. That's all we have. We have 3 little townhomes that are the same as the ones on the canal on the other side. Then we have 4 townhomes, orange ones or yellow on the other side. I don't understand why we need more apartments in the area. We already have a lot of transient people in the neighborhood. And as far as the commercial, I hear from my bedroom, Walgreens, you know, the trucks every night. I hear trucks for Ross. I hear the garbage people coming in the back. I mean, it's already so commercial. And I can't believe that this is going to be 7 stories. I'm disappointed. And I always was told when I bought my property in 2004 that they were going to have townhomes or something like Walgreens, a 1-story. But I mean, it doesn't seem like anyone's taking, like the guys are always talking about their residents and their building. What about the people been there since 2004? You know, I mean, I don't really care about you guys' residents, you know, to be honest. I care about mine, and I'm never going to see daylight anymore at all on a 7-story. So those are my thoughts. And I'm sorry about my appearance. I was just cleaning my kitchen.
We understand.
So
All right, thank you
painting
very
and
much.
Things like that. So thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? Anyone else wishing to speak to this item?
Can I address some concerns?
Be very brief because you've had your opportunity, but
Just as a matter of rebuttal, I'll be brief. Thank you very much.
It's proper, Mr. Chair.
Just on some of a lot of the concerns, we understand them, and we're certainly going to convey them to our client. I empathize with the residents and their concerns. A lot of these concerns, I mean, well, if not all of them, relate to the property across the street. And that's something that is, some of them are specific to a commercial development. The woman that just spoke mentioned trucks and noises from commercial development. If what's there now, what the zoning and the land use that's existing would permit essentially another Causeway Square. It would permit a 55-story commercial office retail structure. And that's ultimately what would go there, or something like it, without this change. By allowing a mixed use, which the comprehensive plan really calls for, you're bringing residents and commercial together, and by nature, that minimizes those nuisance type impacts, because you have your own residents within your property, and noise, lights, that kind of stuff is affecting your own people on your own property. So by nature, and it's something that's just going to happen, a property owner is going to minimize those impacts, and then that affects the properties across the street. Stormwater retention, those are problems that I saw those pictures when I met with her outside, a serious problem. Stormwater is required to be retained on site by code. They're not supposed to get a permit without doing that. We will be, your city engineer will have to analyze those plans when we come in for a building permit, but that's not something that we can address today. We're aware of the concerns, the pollution and the construction noise. Again, we weren't involved, Javier and I were not involved with the Causeway Square project, but the code should not allow 24-hour, 7-day construction. And I would, again, advise our client that if that was something that occurred, they could get a violation, then they should certainly follow the code. But again, that's outside of what's here today. I just wanted to address those concerns. Not much of what was discussed had to do with the comprehensive plan elements and what we believe would be a great type of use for the site. We're here to answer any more questions you may have, but I do think that by its nature, this request would minimize those types of impacts just because you're bringing a mixed-use project in. And again, it'd be great for some of the residents if a one-story small project was there, but unfortunately, what the zoning allows a lot more than that today. And 75 stories is not a lot more than the 55. It's all. It is more, no question. But this development could be, if approved, much higher, and we're agreeing to a lower height to address staff's concerns about compatibility, which we're happy to do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. This time, public hearing is closed. Time for commission discussion. Mr. Ernst?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to admit, when I first saw this, I raised my eyebrows at the 191 units, based mainly on the fact that they didn't really have a lot of information that since then the developer has brought to light with what they want to put on there on this footprint. And it is the first. I think it became a concern of mine only with the fact that we haven't seen anything like this on that particular corridor. You have the townhomes on the north, which are close together and everything, but staff mentioned in the report that there might have been a mixed use somewhere along that corridor, and I honestly can't think of anything along there that exists now that's mixed use. So, I mean, this is a new set of plans that's come to us that we've had to look at and weigh very cautiously as to what we're putting in there. This is something new for really this area. We've had other parts of the city that we've looked at the mixed use at, but really I kind of was, I think I was a part of approving the comprehensive plan, which allowed for mixed uses, and quite frankly, I never really looked at a scenario like this that would come along where you would have this concept brought to us. And I'm encouraged by what he told us about what they have going in Coral Gables, and I'm encouraged at the fact that they want to try to make this an upscale development and cooperate with trying to make it more convenient for the residents to live there and to be able to shop, cut down on traffic and everything else. As the process goes along, I know we'll have to address issues of aesthetics and setbacks and everything else like that. So I think I had enough questions answered by the developer to form my opinion at this point.
All right, thank you. Mr. Each, any comments?
No. Briefly, these photos that I showed here from your property, the view here, the rear. I think who showed this one here? Is that your townhouse?
Those are multifamily
Those are yours?
on the rear.
And this is what? This is Sun King Apartments or King Apartments?
Sutton.
Yeah. And your project is going to go alongside that, and I think it's going to be like, this
Back
is
to
right
back.
by that vacant field. And you know, when I travel down to the Gables, I see what they call the city beautiful. And I think, in all fairness to the developers, if you pay heed tonight and you heard what our complaints were, dumping in the canal, noise, the parking garage, the aesthetics, the light shining in the residential area. You know, that's important. That's quality of life issues. And I'm going to have a meeting. I have to meet with staff anyway on the parking garage issues. I live here. I don't leave here at the end of the night. I've been here over 40 years, and I'm tired of looking at, well, I'm tired of looking at dumpy apartments like this. I want to see them go. I want to see a good quality of life for our people. And I want to see this project go ahead with the proviso, gentlemen, that we don't screw over our citizens that are here now, that are hard-working people that bought their property and want a nice place to live. You know, street landscaping, streetscapes, that's all important. You do it down the Gables, you do it here. No compromising on that. Thank you.
All right. Sir?
I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good.
In that case, the chair will call for a motion.
I make a motion we approve.
All right, move to approve by Mr. Reach. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Very well, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Well done.
Okay, the next one should be straightforward.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I'm just going to read
James.
the recommendation. There's nothing.
I don't have your name.
This is 5 minutes.
Submit the photos
quality
to
project.
Mr. Galdos and staff. The photos should all become part of the
For the
record.
public record.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, there's still one item pending.
There's one more.
Order in the court.
I'll give you a minute to readjust your posters if you need to. No, you're happy? All right, very good. Then let's move on to the last item before us. This is PC 13-13, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations by amending the City of North Miami official zoning map referenced in Article 1, Section 1-106 to reflect the rezoning of a property consisting of approximately 4.24 acres in size located at 1850 Northeast 123rd Street from the current C2BE commercial zoning designation to PD planned development zoning designation in order to provide consistency with the land development regulations in accordance with the intent of the comprehensive plan of the City of North Miami, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and an effective date. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a procedure, I want to explain that this is the same project. What we looked at before was a request for a land use change. What we're considering now is a request for the rezoning. So same identical background, same lot size. We're just procedurally making sure that the zoning and the land use are consistent, so we understand what we're looking at. The staff recommendation that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed ordinance to rezone the subject site from C2BE commercial to PD plan development and forward to City Council for final consideration. We just provided a background on the project, so I'm not going to go through that lengthy detailed report again, but I do want to read the conditions, the staff report conditions into the record. So staff is recommending approval of the rezoning request, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant submit a draft declaration of restrictive covenant containing the restriction as outlined.
May I stop staff for a second? Could you please direct us to the page?
Certainly. I'm on page 6 of 6
Thank you.
of the staff report. And condition number 1, says that the applicant shall submit a draft declaration of restrictive covenant containing the restriction as outlined in subsection 3B above, and again, that refers to 75 feet height limit, to the Office of the City Attorney at least 30 days from final council approval date for review prior to final recordation. The applicant will also furnish a copy of the recorded document to the Director of Community Planning and Development once the instrument has been recorded with Miami-Dade County. Condition number 2 says that the applicant shall file a request. Oh, we're going to strike that as mentioned before in the record since it has been verified that an abandonment occurred back in 1963. And so staff is recommending that a Unity title will be provided showing the consolidation of all the lots on the subject site. And that said document shall be submitted to the Office of the City Attorney for approval prior to final recordation. The applicant would also furnish a copy of the recorded document to the Director of Community Planning and Development once the instrument has been recorded with Miami-Dade County. And the final condition that the applicant is required to obtain site plan review and approval for proposed new development prior to obtaining final building permits. And as such, the applicant shall contact the city's zoning administrator, Joanne Martin, in order to submit plans for the Development Review Committee. This concludes staff's presentation of the rezoning request. If the applicant wants to speak again, they're available, Mr. Chair, to make any additional comments on the rezoning.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant wish to make a statement on this?
Be very brief this time. Again, for the record, Mickey Marrero, law office is 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. Concur with all staff's comments. Unless the city attorney objects, I'll reincorporate our testimony from the prior discussion.
No objection.
Because it's basically essentially the same. The zoning is just consistent with the comprehensive plan change. We're here again to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any member of the commission have a question for the applicant? Hearing none, then we'll open the public hearing. You
go back. Just on that site map to the staff, is there utilities running through there on that abandoned street? Because this map kind of pinpointed some electrical or...
Yeah, I think Mr. James raised that during the review for the land use, and we mentioned that as a part of the conditional use permit, when they submit, there will be a condition that requires that all easements be retained.
Oh, okay. And there is currently electrical running through that.
Yeah, it says electrical transmission distribution and a sanitary sewer easement. So there are actually two.
Sanitary sewer easement, is that
correct?
Part of the city, or is that a...
Sanitary sewer would be city owned. It's a 10-foot wide easement.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. This time the public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak to this item is invited to step forward. Please state your name and address. Calling once. Calling twice. All right. Dr. Toledano, please step up again. Go to the microphone. State your name and address.
Annette Toledano, 1785 Northeast 123rd Street. I just want to ask if the proposed apartments are going to be rentals or for sale.
Are you proposing rentals or condominiums?
The current plan is for rental apartments.
Your current plan
Yes,
is for
rental
rentals,
apartments.
subject to changing market conditions. Okay. All right. That is their current plan. And who knows what we'll see in a year. Yes. All right, if we get to that far. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak to this? Last call. Hearing no thundering herd, seeing no rising cloud of dust, we shall close this final public hearing tonight. All right, gentlemen.
Make a motion
Mr. Each makes a motion, and that motion is?
to approve.
Mr. Each moves for approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Ernst seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
As a reminder to the developer and Mr. Marrero, this item will be going for final determination before City Council.
Let me ask.
You'll be notified. Thank you.
Turn your microphones off, gentlemen. Let's get this room ready for the next usage.
Have we adjourned?
I think that's it.
We will be in just a moment. We can set our next meeting as soon as the audience clears out a little
Doctor?
bit.
Doctor, could you just wait 1 second? I'll meet you after the meeting.
Okay, now, staff, what are we dealing with in terms of a meeting in August or reappointment of the commission? Where do we stand on these issues?
First question, August, we typically go on recess
So
since the
there'll be no
council is
meeting in
on
August
recess, so
planned
you
at
get,
this time.
correct, so you get vacation for August and then we resume in September. With regard to the reappointments, at the last council meeting, it was requested that the item be continued to the 9th. So the sitting board is still the board that will officiate until such reappointments are made. Even though you're expired, by law, you can still officiate until the reappointments are made.
But of course, there's nothing more to officiate on until we get to that point.
Exactly. So luck
All
of the
right.
draw, we're on recess, so that should give them ample time, and
Yes,
we'll
we-
notify you. Ourselves will
understand
contact
that.
you once
Now,
the
do all
reappointments are
the
made.
seats expire at the same time?
No, they don't.
Which seats have expired and will be replaced or up for consideration? Michael,
If I do it from
Microphone is off.
Oh,
memory.
sorry, microphones are off. Okay, back to that. Which seats on the planning commission are up
In terms
for-
of expiration, Commissioner Horowitz, Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Swashbaum, and there's a vacant seat for Commissioner Prevertel,
Okay.
who
So
resigned.
So 3 seats have expired and we have a vacancy.
Correct.
And a refills of me.
I'm sorry, sir?
Ari Fills also?
No, Jason James has been the
Oh,
replacement
okay,
for
okay.
Ari Filzami. So
It's not
currently
been updated.
tonight, Mr. Ernst would be the only one that's here tonight that's up for reappointment, and the other 3 are safe, so to speak.
Oh, we're safe. Congratulations. So nice. Yeah, thank you. I'd shake your hand, Charlie, but thank you, Kitty. We're safe, okay? 3 out of 3 or 4.
Since
Do we
that's what you
want to be
probably
safe?
wanted to know.
That's the other question. All right, if there's nothing else to come before the commission, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now, staff, keep this in mind. You know, this year you should consider coming, okay? It's an all right thing to do. Is it what?